Hey, this is Linz, and you are watching Support the Scene.
Hey, this is Jade from Support the Scene. I'm here with another of one of Vancouver's amazingly talented individuals. Why don't you introduce yourself to those who don't know you?
Hi, all. I am Chronfused, aka Julie B, and I'm super stoked to be here.
Yeah. Now, the one thing I love about Vancouver is that everyone has different little, pockets of music that they kind of like to do and be in. You're in a few different little pockets that you do in yourself. How would you describe your sound?
Musical performance art is kind of generally the umbrella I put it under, or if people really want me to get specific or like I have to list a genre, I usually say techno jazz.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, you could just be like ch- to 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 jazz,
Yeah.
chaz,
Chaz.
Yeah,
It's a soft th. Yeah.
yes, yeah. But yeah. So you've been doing this for a while now. I mean, tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about like the history.
So, I've been performing for really since a really young age. Community theater, musical theater since about age 9, but I've been performing professionally since about 15, pretty consistently, like about once a month or so. Now, generally I say I get to have the power of saying no, which is basically the power of having a day job in this city, but also just like being at a certain level at your career that you can say no to things. I digress though, but yeah, so I've been performing like in bands, doing poetry, spoken word. I did my foundation is a lot in community theater and improv. Like I even did competitive French improv, just
Wow.
as an excuse to do performance. A lot of acting classes. Like I'm from the Northwest Territory, so there's not a lot to do in the winter, but there is a lot of culture. There's a lot of people making art and trying to like pass on that to the youth. So when I was, I think maybe 10 years old, my family had the opportunity to help renovate this kind of dilapidated office building, and like really work and help this community theater space take shape. And because we helped that, they gave us a discount on the student acting lessons. And between that and musical theater and choir and just sort of growing up in an artsy family, there's nothing that has been more consistent in my life than art and music. And it's very natural and multidiscipline and kind of just an outpouring expression. And it's just making sure I have the time and space to dedicate to that, and that I respect my talents, and that I kind of engage with the audience in a way that respects their time in the same way.
Yeah, I love that. But I do want to round back to being at a point in your career where you can say no. And I think it's very important for artists of any level to realize that, that there's a time where you're just starting and you have, anything's a good gig, anything that get you out there kind of thing. But even more experienced artists can realize that that you don't have to take every gig. You don't have to do some of these pay to play.
Ugh, yes. Oh my
Yeah.
God. That is the biggest scam in the music industry. And when you call people out and are like, "Hey, this is a pay to play thing. Like I'm an artist, not a promoter."
Yeah.
Some of the excuses they give you to justify what they're doing is outrageous. Like we're just looking for people who are the whole package.
Well,
And it's like, okay.
exactly. I love how a lot of I've worked with a lot of them trying to like Supernova back in the day, Landmark, all these companies that come and they're like, yeah, well, we have a big prize, and they dangle this carrot over top of these artists, recording travel showcases, blah blah blah. And then they're like, yeah, you have to, when you perform and do our showcase, you have to sell 250 tickets or whatever, right?
Yeah, and it's different if it's like a pretty small number, or like you get a cut after a certain amount. Like then it's almost justifiable. It's like you're paying a percentage to the promoter. Like I'm not as mad at it. I'm still wary of it. I still don't engage in it personally. Like that's not my bag. I'm like, if I perform, you pay me.
Yeah.
Or it's an open mic, or it's a charity, or something I'm doing for a friend. Like there's still avenues in which I'll play for free. Like let's not
for
be
sure
naive.
And that's the thing. Like when you're, because as an artist, you have skills, you have the ability to perform, you have an art that you are giving to the world, and every time you perform, you're sharing a part of yourself, and there's worth to that. Just as a baker that makes bread, you're someone that makes art. And
totally.
So it annoys the heck out of me when because I ran the numbers once with Landmark, and I was like, oh, so they have to sell 25 tickets at like I don't know, it was like $30 a ticket, and then they had, I think, 15 artists on the bill selling that amount. And then I'm like, even if at Fortune Nightclub, where the venue was at, like the rental is like what, like $2,000 max kind of thing for a Thursday night or whatever, they're still walking away with like a good $5,000.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like with pay to play shows, that just became so obvious to me. Just I never booked one, because I looked at it and I was like, well, for that price, I'm gonna just book my own show. Like I'll just throw my own event, walk away with maybe $50 each band, but that's way more fun. It's more engaged audience. We know the people there are there to see. Like it's just a way better feeling than this slimy middleman shit, Like,
yeah, and especially with those where like people come and no one buys the ticket and is there for the whole night. They're there to support their friend for like their 5-minute set, and then everyone leaves, and then it's the next artist up, and then their little packet of fans. And
and rather than have like a community night,
exactly.
Yeah. So it's very strange, and it's not something I really got growing up. Like the music scene and the art scene in Yellowknife, where I'm from, is very nurturing, very protective, like lots of mentors, really just a beautiful place to grow up as an artist. Like I can't express how fortunate and how culturally rich the North is. You might not think so because it's so isolated, but because there are so many people from so many walks of life, from all over the place, so many new Canadians, and so much Indigenous culture still like very alive and strong there. That combination and the need for community in such an isolated spot, and like the need for entertainment, makes people just very gracious and very excited, like a very stoked audience. It's really beautiful.
Oh, I love that. And so like moving on to, you've come to Vancouver, you created all this different because you've done in other projects like Artemis, you've done your own solo stuff, you have a couple EPs, a couple albums out, right?
Yeah, so I've done work with the Artemis Musician Society. They're a group of musicians and performers who use music to kind of end the stigma faced by survivors of sexual assault, because we're all survivors of sexual assault. And it's kind of one of those things where like we're still here, we're still going, and we can still make beautiful things in spite of this horribleness. And I'm kind of their in-house poet improviser weirdo. I've also worked solo as Chronfused, both as like a interactive performance artist, poet, and as a looper, doing a lot of, again, improvised melodic musical stuff. And I like to take inspiration from the audience and from the world around me. And I've collected a lot of those improvs over the years. And this past year on my birthday, I released 2 EPs out into the world. One is called Zigzag Stardust and the Stoners from Magrathea. And the other one is called Around the World in a Daze. And Around the World in a Daze is a little bit more like lo-fi, a lot more recorded live, like hot off the floor in the tiny little pockets of live performance we got during COVID and like just before and after. And then Zigzag Stardust and the Stoners from Magrathea, being sort of like a nod to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, is a bit more far out, spacey, kind of isolated vibes, recorded primarily during my stay with Artemis at the BAMP Center. During an experimental music residency, which was actually almost exactly a year ago. I think exactly a year ago today would have been like the second or third day we were there. So,
and they're
cool.
and they're both really cool collections, I gotta say.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, they're completely self-engineered, produced, mixed, mastered. Like I did all the album work myself. Yeah, it was all a Chronfused production.
Now, with that, how do you find like, the ability to do that and to basically craft everything yourself? Do you think the pieces have come as you wanted it to, or do you think one day you'd like to take it to a bigger studio and do a bigger kind of production on it?
I would love that. Ideally, I think the vision I have for future Chronfused productions would be to have one side of each EP or album be the like completely spontaneous improvised track, and the other one be sort of matching well-produced, polished tracks where someone else, or perhaps myself if my skills grow, can go in and rework these things. The issue that I face is I currently use the RC505, which when you record live, it's just 2 tracks, like the left and the right. They just came out with an upgrade where each loop is its own individual track, which I'm really excited to buy. But being a performance artist doesn't necessarily give you brand new looper money, so that's a future Julie investment.
I love it.
Yeah, I definitely did a lot of like Googling, and I had to scrap some songs because I couldn't get them to sound the way I wanted. And I was kind of committed to doing it myself. On my first EP, my brother went to music production school. So yeah, for my first EP, I just sort of sent it to him for the mixing and mastering. But this one I was like, no, like I kind of, I was going through some things in my personal life, and I desperately needed a distraction and something to go that I could really just dig into. And that's really what these 2 EPs were. And yeah. So.
Well, I think it's one of the big things is that music is so therapeutic that you can imprint your soul onto it. And then it's like a snapshot of what that was that you can kind of then show off and give to people.
Yes, very much so.
And so where can people find you on social media?
I am on basically all the things, on Instagram and TikTok. I am Chronfused. On Twitter, I'm Chronfused420 because I didn't quite understand how Twitter worked when I got it. I think I haven't posted on Tumblr forever, but I'm on there. I'm
goodness,
Chronfused.
Tumblr. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I'm sure you know what? If there was an Exopia, I'd be on there too. But we're not. We're good. We're past there. Oh, YouTube. If you search Chronfused on YouTube, there's a ton of things that'll come up. Not just my channel, but many others. And definitely search Artemis Musician Society. We're always coming up with amazing projects. They take a little bit longer than Chronfused productions that come out like generally all the time, but they're much more meaty, more beautiful, honestly.
Aw. Well, I hope everyone goes check it out. The links will be down below. Thanks everyone for watching. Please hit that subscribe button, ding that bell to be notified when we upload even more videos. And thanks everyone, and hope everyone has a great day and checks you out and sees you around town.
Thank you so much, Jade. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Everyone subscribe. Like
Yes.
and subscribe.
Do it.
Thanks for watching. This is Support the Scene. Make sure to subscribe, hit the bell, follow, and share.